and welcome back to another card making tutorial. I will be creating a card similar to this one using products from Gina K Designs. Using the tag trio die set from Gina K Designs, I will cut out 4 tags out of white 80-pound layering weight cardstock. One tag will be ink blended and heat embossed, and the other 3 tags will be stacked together to create dimension. I will also use the Master Layouts 1 die set to cut out my main panel along with the layering panel for the perfect thin layer edge. Our main image comes from the Friendly Silhouette stamp set from Gina K Designs. I will be using my Misty to stamp my image. Before I stamp, I did notice my stamp needed to be clean. Normally, I just use my stamp chamois to clean my stamps, but every once in a while, I need to use cleaner to clean the stamp. I will be using the Gina K Designs stamp cleaner and the Hero Arts scrubbing block. Off screen, I sprayed my block very lightly, and in circular motion, I will lightly scrub my stamp. I will come in after using a microfiber cloth to dry off my stamp and remove any leftover residue from the cleaner. Since we will be heat embossing, you will need to prep your card. First, you'll need to apply anti-static powder tool. Mine is from Tailored Expressions. And then you'll need to use a clear sticky ink. I will be using Versamark ink. And once applied, we'll go ahead and stamp the image. My Versamark ink pad is well loved, so I will be stamping my image twice to make sure I get a really good impression. And using your Misty tool helps with aligning everything up, making sure you're stamping in the exact same spot. Once I have a great impression, I will go ahead and remove my panel from the Misty. And next I will apply gold embossing powder from Altenew. Any gold embossing powder will work. I have a scrap piece of paper that will help me funnel my powder back into the jar. And off screen, I am preheating my heat tool so it's nice and hot. And then I'm going to go ahead and melt the embossing powder. Now, when you preheat your heat tool, you don't need to have it running for a long period of time. You just want to make sure that the heat tool is nice and hot, which only takes a few seconds, and then apply it to your embossing powder. After I'm done heat embossing, I am going to place my panel back into the Misty. The reason I am doing this is because I want to line up my tag in the center of my card. I will be stamping the same image on my tag. And since the tag is in the center of the card, you want to make sure the image lines up perfectly. And of course, since we're heat embossing the tag, you're going to prep your cardstock first with the anti-static powder tool before applying your clear sticky ink. And then once I have stamped the tag, I will do it twice. I'm going to go ahead and bring back in the gold embossing powder. Funnel the embossing powder back into the jar so that way I don't accidentally knock it over, and then I will apply heat to melt the embossing powder on the tag. To create our colorful background, I will ink blend using a blender brush and Gina K Designs dye ink in the colors Cherry Red, Tangerine Twist, and Wild Dandelion. Starting with the color Cherry Red, I will apply the ink to the bottom portion of the tag. The embossed image will resist the ink, and later I will wipe the excess ink using a microfiber cloth. After applying the Cherry Red, I will rotate my tag and ink blend the top of the tag in the color Wild Dandelion. When ink blending, I find it easier to apply color to the top and then the bottom, or the bottom then the top like I did here, and then bring in the center color which in this case will be the Tangerine twist. I personally get better ink blending results when I blend in this order, but definitely ink blend the way that works best for you. Once I have laid down my first layer of color, I will go back in and apply a second layer of color to help smooth out the transition lines. Gina K Designs ink have a smoothing agent in them, which helps with that process and becomes noticeable as soon as the ink has time to fully dry. Time to buff off the excess ink sitting on top of our embossed image. I like to use a soft cloth, but you could also use a paper towel. Gina's inks are also water reactive, so I will spritz on a few drops of water and absorb the ink with a paper towel. Using a splat box, I'm going to apply white spatter. I'm going to cover up the embossed image first, and then I'm going to use some white acrylic paint that has been watered down with a few drops of water. And using a paintbrush and a palette knife, I'm going to tap on the white spatters to my background. Next, I will cut out the word grateful out of black cardstock and the shadow layer from vellum. I will also cut the word grateful 3 times out of white cardstock to create dimension. The grateful is a die from Gina K Designs, and I will adhere everything together using my Gina K Designs Connect liquid adhesive. Because the word is very delicate, I find lining up both words easier by leaving the white cut out in the negative instead of popping the word out. Using a fine tip applicator bottle was also handy when applying the liquid adhesive because you can control how much glue comes out of the bottle. Once I was able to line up both words, I am going to now gently remove the word out of the negative space. And here is the close-up of the word grateful. And so now I'm going to apply my liquid adhesive to the back of the word so that way I can apply it to the vellum. I did get white paint on my hands, so I do apologize for that close-up. When applying the grateful to the vellum, I want to be careful to not smear the glue. Vellum does show pretty much everything, so even though the glue will dry clear, it will leave kind of a shiny area on the vellum instead of keeping it that matte color. So I didn't forget about the other 2 cutouts. I'm actually going to adhere both of these together, and then I'm going to apply them to the back side of the vellum, and that's how I'm going to create my dimension on my card. Again, leaving one of the words into the negative space helps me line up the words, and then I'll gently pop them out, and then here is where I flip the vellum over and I'm going to glue it to the back side. I'm going to carefully line up the words to make sure it doesn't show through the front side, taking my time to make sure everything lines up perfectly. I'm going to flip over the word to make sure I don't see anything, and then I'm going to lay down a few acrylic blocks to hold everything in place. I'm going to adhere my front panel to the layering panel, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere all my tags together. Using the Connect liquid adhesive, I'm going to stack all of my tags. They're super easy to line up. You could add a bow here, and I contemplated adding a bow, but I decided to skip it and instead add some embellishments. Taking my time, I'm going to make sure that my stamp image lines up perfectly. And then I'm going to adhere the word grateful to my tag, again using my liquid adhesive. You could use dot runner, but I don't have great success with my dot runner, so that's why I use liquid adhesive a lot. In the first card, I used butterflies to fill in the three corners of my card. But since this card had more of a fall vibe, I decided to use the birds from the Time to Coast stamp set, which was another set from Gina's collection. Again, I'm going to heat emboss them. And so we need to prep our card with our anti-static powder tool, apply our clear sticky ink, and then heat emboss using gold embossing powder. Again, making sure that your heat gun is nice and hot. We're going to go ahead and heat emboss. It's really important that your heat gun is nice and hot here because you don't want it to warp your cardstock, especially since everything has already been glued down. I probably should have done it before I glued everything down, but I just really wasn't thinking, and this worked as well. And so now I'm going to go ahead and bring in some embellishments. I'm using the Studio Katia Satin Gold Pearls. I have really been loving pearls as a finishing embellishment. And now we're going to adhere our panel to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding A2 card base in the color Cherry Red, which was also cardstock from Gina K Designs. And that completes today's card project. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I would love for you to like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps. Thank you all for your support. Bye.